Hello, I'm Betty Swan, and welcome to our show, Wisdom in the Night, where you get help for those tough decisions in your life. Tonight I have a great guest, Nena Ugwuomo. She has started a nonprofit to help students become entrepreneurs. It's called Student Dream. Welcome, Nena. It is great to have you on this show. I'm so eager for people to hear all about you and this great idea you thought up all by yourself, or somehow you came to it. But first of all, I want to know a little bit about your background. I know you're Nigerian, so were you born in Nigeria?
No, I was actually born here in the U.S. I was born in Boston, Mass.
Yeah?
And I grew up right outside the city, about 30 minutes outside, in Lexington, Massachusetts.
Yeah. Did you go to school there?
Yeah, went to high school there, primarily Lexington High School. Shout out to LHS. Just this past year was actually voted the #1 high school in the country, which was
really?
great.
And
yeah.
Was it hard? Was it a very difficult
I
school?
wouldn't say it was very difficult. I was more so focused on sports because I was in love with basketball growing up. Mm-hmm. But I learned a lot. I definitely was prepared when I went on to college.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to college at Howard University in Washington, D.C.
I know
school.
about that. It's a very good school.
Mm-hmm.
And then what got you from there to New York City?
Graduation. So I graduated in 2012 and had an incredible opportunity to come work in New York City at the Nielsen Company. Back then they had this leadership rotational program that would allow me to see different parts of the company, and in addition to that, travel across the country. So I couldn't say no to that.
What was your degree in?
My degree was in international business and marketing with a minor in Spanish.
Nena, tell me about your family. Were they entrepreneurs? What was that all about when you were growing up?
Yeah, so my family weren't really entrepreneurs. My mom and dad were both very much so in the public sector. So my mom is a nurse, and my dad is a recently retired science teacher, middle school science teacher. Mm-hmm. My 3 older brothers, they also went to work in the private sector. So no one was really entrepreneurial.
So what made you an entrepreneur? Did you do anything entrepreneurially when you were growing up?
Yeah, I definitely had an affinity towards it. So I was the girl with the lemonade stand growing up.
Yeah.
I sold candy to students in middle school. And
on
also,
your own or for someone else?
On my own. I went out, I thought it was a good idea. Went out, got some bulk candy and sold it.
And so how'd your business do?
It did pretty good until one of my classmates told on me. And then they said, you can't be selling stuff.
So how long did it last, your business?
I can't really remember, but I think it lasted at least a year.
Oh, my goodness. Mm-hmm. So did you make some good money?
Yeah, I did. I made a profit. So I was in business.
Well, wow. That is. And do you think that that's what steered you toward the student dream, or what steered
you? I
you?
think that more so was just innate, wanting to do that. I know God just gave me the desire to want to do that. But what really steered me towards Student Dream was moving to New York City. When I moved here, I was first exposed to a bunch of different entrepreneurs who were actually starting businesses for a living. And so I never really knew that people would actually choose that as a career path. And I also saw students doing it. So that really showed me the opportunity that was there for college students to pursue this. And I said to myself, man, why didn't I see this at my campus or campuses like mine, which happened to be a historically Black college and university. And so after doing a bit of research, I saw that those universities were really lacking in the amount of startup education and exposure
that they entrepreneurship.
That they provided to their students. So I wanted to fill that gap because for me, I really hate seeing talent and potential wasted. So
well, I remember when you were starting it.
Yeah.
That's about the time I met you, and you said, I have this dream.
Wow.
It's called Student Dream, and I think this is going to go. And I've watched you, and you have succeeded and succeeded and succeeded, and you have won contests, you've gotten grants,
Yes.
all kinds of things have come to you. Well, now, how did you know that was God's plan for you? How did you get to know the Lord, and how did you know that was His plan?
Wow, that's a great question. So looking back, I think I really got to know it just after seeing lots and lots of confirmation, both just in my dealings with business and also in prayer. So for me, I saw it as I began to win competitions that I absolutely knew I was not qualified for. And it's great to talk about it now because I say to myself, wow, this really was the Lord. So just winning competition after competition after competition was confirmation. And then,
what kind of competitions were they?
Yeah, these were pitch competitions. So people presented their ideas to folks and the best idea won. And so from 2012 to 2014, I probably won at least 4 or 5 of these types of competitions. And it really not only gave me cash to work with, but also knowledge on how to go about and execute what I needed to go and execute.
Do you think, Nena, it was an idea whose time was right because so many young people, even teenagers, even young, almost preteen, are coming up with entrepreneurial ideas?
Right.
So maybe it was a time, the time was right, the timing was right. Do you think that could be it?
I don't necessarily focus it just on the timing because I think a lot of times people will be waiting for the right time and not really taking care of what has been put on your heart. I think the time, once you have an idea that you're passionate about, that's the time to start building it.
So that would help people. People watching this show would say, I'm waiting on the right time. And you're saying, if it's in your heart and you feel passion, now's the time.
Now's the time because it takes time to build a company. And so if you have a vision that you're willing to sacrifice for, begin sacrificing for that now.
Did you find that you had a lot of encouragement from the Lord?
I did, definitely.
How? What was that?
I think it was just in the form of the awards and the people that were put around me. I think people are the most important part, and I would constantly be surrounded by friends who would share with me opportunities, who would encourage me, who would help me out, both from personally as I went out to pursue this endeavor with no funding. That was really encouraging.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you didn't have to borrow a lot of money to do this?
No, I had a bit of savings from my job.
Your candy business.
No, from my job in sales and marketing, I had a little bit of savings, but I also had a healthy bit of naivety, not really knowing how much it takes to start a company. And we really didn't spend that much money early on. So there wasn't a lot of funds needed, but I think just the little bit, whether it was $500 here or $250 there, that's what was also very encouraging.
Well, tell me about some of the people that you have worked with who actually have started their own business and have succeeded already, and they're young.
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting. It's one of my favorite things to talk about are the students we've worked with. To date, we've helped over 400 students.
Wow.
Some of them have gone on to start successful companies. Others, their companies didn't necessarily succeed, but they have a whole new mindset and perspective on risk and what it looks like to step out on faith. And they know how to add value in whatever setting they're at, whether for some that's now in the corporate world or the startup world. So we've seen students start web-based platforms that allow home buyers to connect with sellers and really understand who their landlords are before they go and buy a house or rent an apartment, which has really changed the landscape of the buyer-seller market. And that's been very successful. They've raised over $100,000 in funding. They've been accepted into some very prestigious programs and have customers. Money is coming into the bank.
And how old are they?
They are 24 years old.
Just amazing.
Yeah.
So encouraging because a lot of people think I've got to have an expensive degree at an expensive college, and then I'm going to have college debt forever and ever and ever, and I'll never really get to be able to do what I really want to do. And yet you're saying it's possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is possible.
And you mentioned something about risk.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't succeed, what were you saying? What do you mean by that?
I was saying that our students have a whole new mindset towards risk. They're not afraid at all. They're not afraid to step out on a powerful vision and enjoy the process, especially when they fail. And I think a lot of people, sadly, it's very sad, are held back by fear and risk. but there's so much joy, there's so much learning, there's so much fruit in taking risks.
And Nena, do you see people maybe start 2 or 3 businesses before they find the one they're really going to succeed at? Do you see that?
So to date, we haven't seen that because we really encourage with our program design, we really encourage the students to, even if you may have more than one idea, to select one before moving forward. And so we haven't yet worked with students who've worked on one idea, then worked on another yet.
But as they get older and older, that could happen.
It absolutely could.
Until they find everything they need to know to put it all together for the one. Because you do hear that story where people say, I tried this, I tried that, and I learned this and I learned that. How does God, well, first of all, how did you come to get a personal relationship with the Lord, and how does that actually work in what you do with your life?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So for me, I, grew up in a quote-unquote Christian household. So we would go to church every now and then. But if anybody ever asked me, who is Jesus? What did he do for you? I would have no idea how to respond. My life definitely did not look like someone who followed Christ. So when I went to college, that was a huge time for me, just being in an environment that really challenged my identity. And I was invited by a friend to church one day, and they were really just explaining the fundamentals of the gospel. And it hit my heart. And after a few weeks of going, Jesus just revealed to me one night that he is everything I've ever wanted and everything I've ever needed. And I didn't know what happened in my heart at that time, but I really did change. Things that I once desired were no longer the things I desired. God filled me with his spirit, and I began to just want to read the word, go to church, know more about Jesus, share about Jesus. I remember saying to myself, oh my goodness, Lord, I'm unstoppable now. So that's how I came to know the Lord. And
now, I want to ask you something. A lot of people go off to college and they lose their faith.
Yeah.
You're saying you went off to college and found your faith.
Yes.
So what was the difference?
Man, I think the difference is just a real heart change and authenticity. I think when you really hear the gospel, it hits you. And I think a lot of times students come into college with just not a strong foundation of who they are in Christ and the benefits of being a believer, and just the fact that
what would you say are the benefits?
Man, benefits are endless. It's peace, joy, kindness, eternal life, a real friendship with the God who made the world. It goes on and on.
And if he's probably the world's greatest entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because he started things nobody had done.
Yes, he is. And I would say that he's one of the words I actually heard from the Lord when I first started Student Dream was just, Nena, I'm the ultimate gap filler. And that's what entrepreneurs do. We fill gaps. We solve problems. We satisfy needs. And Jesus did do that.
Now, how do you teach people to spot those gaps?
Oh, wow. We ask them just to think. So we really focus on lots of asking the right questions. A lot of times people are just going through the rat race of life and don't just take the time to stop and ask and answer the right questions. So we really ask them.
What are some of those questions?
The right questions. Some of them are like, what is a problem that really bothers you in the world and that you want to solve? What are you naturally gifted at? What are you passionate about? Or what is there something that you really don't like in the world and want to see change happen in? Those are some of the questions that we ask them.
Now, do you have standardized tests, or do you have counselors set up? How do you actually operate the Student Dream?
Right. So we are really focused on learning by doing, on experience. One of our quotes is that talk is cheap, talk is broke. So
I love that.
Yeah, so we have 3 components where our mission is to connect students to the knowledge, network, and capital needed to start companies. So we have a 6-month program from first semester of school through the second semester, where we meet with students virtually through monthly training sessions, and then we have weekly coaching sessions led by successful entrepreneurs, business experts, investors.
Where they can ask questions.
And predominantly where we go through key aspects of business creation. So thinking through what's your vision, what's your mission, the idea portion, the customer development portion, who are your customers, what are their needs, the marketing portion,
and that's what people
product.
that are trying to start a business have not had that opportunity in their life.
Yeah, the students that we work with.
You are really filling a niche, aren't you?
Right, absolutely.
I've always heard when you want to do something entrepreneurially, find a niche and fill it. But actually, Nena, you found your niche and you filled it, which is training them to find theirs, right?
Yeah.
Really good. Well, what kind of challenges have you encountered in this? I know it hasn't all been easy.
Oh, not at all.
What have been the struggles?
I mean, my struggles have been really the struggles that we're trying to solve for the students we serve. You know, having the right knowledge, the right network, the right capital. Those have really been the three main troubles. Do you help them
raise capital?
Yeah, we help them give access to capital. So whether we have funders, venture philanthropists, venture capitalists in our network, we make those introductions and prepare them for the fundraising process.
Well, now, you went to the White House, didn't you?
We did, yes.
Was it this year?
This was January of this year.
Tell me about that. How did that even happen?
That
From
was
the student dream.
That was faith. I remember, so I was, one of the challenges that I've had, just going back to that, is, you know, paying the bills while starting a company. And so one of the ways I've been able to do that is through many different odd jobs in addition to consulting. And so I was consulting in 2015 part-time, and I had the opportunity to bust my way into the White House for this event that they were happening. And it was, again, by faith that I was even able to get into the White House because my name wasn't on the list, but I just decided to show up and stand firm, and they let me in.
What did you say when you got there?
I said my name. They said my name wasn't on the list. I said, well, can I come in? And they said, well, you know, you'll have to stay and wait. We'll see if we can get you cleared. And so that was just complete favor. And
well, Nena, a lot of people would be stopped by not having their name, and you weren't.
I was not. Because initially my supervisor said, oh, I can get you a space. So I flew down to New York from San Francisco, which is where I was working at the time. And I said to myself, well, when he told me, oh, well, it turns out we don't have a space, that's not the character of God. Lord, you're not a tease. You wouldn't bring me all this way to stop. So I had to make a decision, either stay at home or take a step out. And
you did.
And I took the step out. And I ended up meeting someone there who helped organize that event. And then I shared with him Student Dream and asked, hey, could we possibly have an event here at the White House? And so, lo and behold, 6 months later, we were able to have that event in January. Yes.
And how many people came?
There was over about 150 people who came. Students, entrepreneurs, public leaders, private leaders, all came to come up with new ways we can both highlight and accelerate entrepreneurship led by collegiate students of color.
Now, that was in the actual White House?
That was in the White House. So it was in the White House. People always try to downplay it.
No, I'm excited.
It was in the White House, but there's two parts. There's the green room and that part of the White House, and then there's the Eisenhower executive offices. So we had ours held in the Eisenhower executive office building, where you'll see White House press conference given, etc. That's the part that we had it in.
Well, Nena, what did you think to yourself when you looked around and said, oh, look at me, look where I am?
Yeah, honestly, Betty, I didn't really do that because I really was in the moment with the organization of it. I think I was more so excited when we found out that we were able to go, because I remember talking to one of my volunteers who was a lead volunteer and just sharing with him, hey, you know, we're going to try to have this event at the White House, and he laughed. And so I thought about Sarah's laugh, and I said, hey, doesn't it say with God all things are possible? I was like, watch, we're going to do this. And so that's really when I enjoyed it, when we were there and I was able to show him, hey, Rudy, if you're listening, we were able to have it at the White House.
What did he say when you got there and you went, hey, Rudy?
He just shook his head. He was like, you're right, you know.
Oh, so that's beautiful.
It felt great. It felt great. I mean, just to see that everything is the Lord's, and you just have to ask him and believe. And if you have the right motives, he'll give it.
Well, I want to talk to you a little bit about what kind of wisdom you have gotten from all that you've gone through.
I would say there's a few things. Have a vision. You know, you really need it. The word says that without a vision, the people perish. And this is such an emotional journey that if you don't really have a strong, compelling vision that you're willing to sacrifice for, when it gets hard, which it really will, it's one of the most up and down emotional experiences, that if you don't have a strong vision, you'll quit.
Okay, so let me just ask you real quick about that, because I know people watching this show tonight some of them are seriously in the downside.
Yeah.
Some are excitedly in the upside, and some are right in there in between. Now, what kind of wisdom do you have? Because I know you've been through all of that.
Right, I have. I would say remember your story and tell yourself your story of whatever you're building, and ask yourself, is this worth it? Because oftentimes when things get hard, I'm like, man, I really want to quit. Should I just quit? And then I look at what we're trying to accomplish, that we are trying to create lasting wealth in communities of color through entrepreneurship, and I see no one else doing that. I say, yes, this is worth it. Keep going.
Well, I know you're right,
So
because
talk to yourself.
I read an article about how little entrepreneurship there is in people of color. There's certain pockets in the United States where it'll be there, but basically it's not.
Yeah.
And my hope for you is that either you or the people you've trained catch the vision to somehow implement that all over the United States.
Yeah.
Because think what would happen
Exactly.
when people could be told, you don't have to have a lot of money. You don't even have to have an education. You just got to have an idea.
You just need to have a dream.
Right.
And that's the power of a vision. You know, that just goes back to, for anybody who's out there, what's your dream? You don't need a lot of money. Don't worry about what you don't have, especially if you know Jesus. And even if you don't, God still reigns on those who know him and those who don't. But yeah, that dream, have a dream and cling to that dream and fight for that dream. Don't be afraid to work hard. You have to work hard. You have to be disciplined. You have to have friends, people who will encourage you, who will, correct you, who will share what you're doing and fight for your dream. It's so important, and you just got to have the grit. You got to be hungry. You got to stay humble. You got to just want it, and you got to be smart in terms of being willing to put in the work, intellectually, emotionally, that's required to build what you have to build. You
know, people talk about paying the price,
yeah,
and nobody ever identifies what the price is. And I think you just did. I think everything you just said is the price people pay. Now, what's your next dream? What is it?
Thanks for asking that. See, these type of questions get me really excited because it makes me think about what we get to ask our students every day. What's your dream? So my next dream is to continue, honestly, in terms of student dream, to continue to build it. I'm committing 20 years of my life to student dream because that's how long I know it will take to really build up this ecosystem that we want to build. So it's really just adding more order, more better design, more funding to the work that we're doing, marketing to more students. And then also my dream is to build an investment fund where we can be investing in capital straight into these students and taking in exchange for equity in their businesses.
So maybe there's somebody watching this could help endow your student dream. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be tremendous.
Now, do you see yourself expanding around the world?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, you do? Well, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned I studied international business in school, and just being Nigerian, growing up in a very diverse city where people were from, India, other parts of Asia, all over the world, that really exposed me to just the beauty and the wonder of world culture. So on my LinkedIn page, it says global visionary, and I mean that. I take that very literally. And so after we expand across the U.S., we want to work with students, and I want to work with people in Latin America, in Africa, all around the world.
If you think about all over Africa, but Africans are such wonderful people, they just need help in getting going with somebody that cares and has the knowledge of how to do it. So I'm hoping that people that you're training not only catch the vision for themselves, I'm hoping that they catch the vision to help you take it globally.
Wow.
because it will take a team of people.
Absolutely.
And yet there's people there praying right now saying,
Right.
I want to do this. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to start it. Nobody can teach me. Now, have you given any thought to having teaching on the internet where people can just watch you on YouTube or what?
Yes, we
You have? Good.
And so we're building that out as we speak, a digital platform where people can access the knowledge and the networks needed to move their ideas forward. Studentdream.org, and there will be a portal where you can access.
Now, when will that be available for people that are
That'll
watching?
be available in the next, by the end of October.
Of 2016,
Of 2016.
October 2016. And they'll be able to go on that anywhere in the world. And
Anywhere in
watch
the
it.
world, yep.
Wow. Well,
In exchange
Nena,
for it to be membership fee.
this is just wonderful, and it's you always motivate me. You always have
Thank
a great
you.
attitude. You're smiling, you're laughing, and I just think you're a special person. I know that you're a special person. If you're watching this show and you perked up about what she talked about, it means that there's something for you to do. Maybe you're very down right now. Maybe life hasn't treated you the best. Maybe you think, oh, Betty, if you knew my life, but really that's not the truth, because did you hear what she said? You just need a dream, and then you need to pay the price to make that dream come true. So you can do that. We've all done it. I'm doing it with this TV show. And if I can do it, you can do it. If Nena can do it, you can do it, and you need someone to tell you that. So thank you so much for tuning in. It wasn't an accident that you turned on the TV tonight. I'm sure you figured that out by now. And I hope you received some wisdom and that you have a great rest of the night, whether you're going to sleep or going to work. I'll see you next time. Bye.